played console games. Now, did you play online on your console games, or was that more of a computer thing?
It was more of a computer thing. I'm an only child. Um, and so my experience with like multiplayer was mostly I would have my next door neighbors around and we'd pass the
Mhm.
controller every time, like every two deaths and things like that. But I really loved games that I could get super immersed into. I'm much more of a story game person.
Mhm.
I've always said on like my stream, like I consider myself to be like a story whore. Anything with amazing, well written characters with actual depth and story that is just invigorating and intriguing and just gets your creative juices flowing. I tend to be very into those games, which they don't often tend to be online.
Yeah.
Those kind.
So, shifting over to the computer, just to do a small shift here. So, you played video games online, and you saw what was like games you started playing online besides because we got out of the CD-ROMs now, and then of course eventually you got to download games, Steam and whatnot came along.
I only got Steam at my own Steam account when, like 2015,
Oh, same here to
like
be honest.
really late. I was so late to the Steam game, but before that, my boyfriend at the time and I actually shared his account because we only had the one computer while we were living together, and there was just no reason to get two.
hmm
So over like the 7 years that we were together, we built up this whole collection of games on his Steam account, and so that was the my first experience with Steam was sharing his. When it came to online games, I didn't really play much online at all. I went to a couple of like Age of Empires lands and things like that, but League of Legends was probably my first. Oh no, wow! I used to play World of Warcraft. I always
Oh,
forget that. I did used to play World of Warcraft.
oh man, we could. Here we go. Open the World of Warcraft book because I know people always get angry at these because I used to play WoW and it's like I know a lot about WoW, so I ask like 20,000 questions. Like, what'd you play? PvE, PvP, Horde, Alliance, and everybody's like, oh, 30 minutes of World of Warcraft talk. Jesus Christ.
Well, if it's any consolation, I knew and still know very little to nothing about World of Warcraft because my friends and I were actually on this like what was it was like a dodgy free server that was like in the Philippines when I moved
hmm
to New Zealand, and I played up to Wrath of the Lich King. Um, but yeah, I never did any PvP. We did like and before I did WoW, there was things like Tantra Online
hmm
and just odd MMOs like that. But yeah, I mostly played it just as an excuse to have something to do with my friends. I rarely knew what I was doing.
So you weren't like
So
a super WoW, like this is
no.
the way the game's got to be played. Because some people are like super like for the Horde, for the Alliance. Were you
Yeah.
Horde,
Well,
Alliance?
for the Alliance, for the Alliance.
Oh man, gonna make all the Hordies man there.
You're hordy. I get
Uh,
it. I
no,
get it.
no, I
It's
actually
fine.
started on
It's fine.
Alliance, but it's okay.
I like my
It's
eyes.
okay. So you aren't big into World of Warcraft, so we won't go too much into WoW. But uh, the main question is, was it like mind-boggling to you, like all these people, like millions of people were playing on this one server, and you're like, you walk by somebody, and they're like, hey, you want to buy this, da da da, and you walk by another person, they're like, yeah, looking for this, and all this going on.
See, everyone on the server we were on, we were like the only English speakers. Because it was a weird free dodgy server. And so it was like people coming up and saying pa adpo, which means like, add to party. And I don't know, I just kind of ran around and looked at the scenery a lot and was like, this is pretty. I'm the dumbest World of Warcraft player, but I really enjoyed the time that I did get to spend with my friends going on raids, and I do really appreciate that how much effort there was in that lore. But I was also so behind
hmm
on so much when it came to World of Warcraft, and it is so in depth that it would have taken me forever and a day to catch up. And anybody who starts WoW now, I'm sure they feel the same way that there is a lot to
Yeah.
catch up on.
Well, now you can boost your character to whatever and just be like, hey, I'm 110. Here we go. No problem.
Once in, here we go. I think I got up to 75.
I think that was the max I went. I don't know. It's been a while for World of Warcraft. But what did you play? Did you play mage, hunter, priest, shaman?
I I played a mage. I've always loved mages. I've always loved range and magic is like
Mm.
perfect for me. So I played a mage and I love that I was able to like turn into different animals and things like that. It started my love of druids in Dungeons and Dragons. And I know that that's an unpopular opinion, but I love druids. Um and yeah, I played an elf.
Oh, there you go. See,
Yeah.
lion so probably night elf. I'm guessing at that
Yeah, it
time.
was night elf.
Hey, night elf mage. Interesting. Hmm. Well, going forward though, so you're not a big into Steam until you get your own Steam library. That kind of sucks. So your ex took all those games, huh?
Well, we have it linked on Steam. So I have access to his games, he has access to mine, and things like that. And I'm pretty sure it's still that way. If not, it was a long time ago we broke up, and I very much built up my own collection now. I would just miss GTA 5 on the PC. That would be the main bummer.
Huh. Oh, well, that was nice of him at least. Some people are like, these are mine. This is all mine. But it was nice to link it up and keep it, get to play your games, you get to play his games. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it was amicable, very, very amicable.
So is there a favorite computer game going all the way back from when you first started playing computers to computer games now that it's just like, this is,
Ooh.
this is my game. I can always go back and play it. That's what we're looking for here. Doesn't matter what year, what time of day, how you're feeling. That's one game you'd be like, wow, I can play this all day.
Probably Age of Empires, the original one. As much as many people are really into like 2, Age of
Hmm.
Empires 2, I actually preferred the first Age of Empires, and I just have so many good memories of like showing my friends and I like the like cheat codes and things like that. And I haven't played it actually in a long, long time, but when I think of growing up, what was my biggest PC game that I loved, and it was Age of Empires or the Lion King game.
Huh, there you
Probably
go.
Age of Empires.
Lion King, close second.
Lion King came close second because just the memories of how shit those levels were. They were fucking tough. They were so tough. It was ridiculous.
For
And I
probably
loved
your
it.
age, yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna go more so with the storyline, like, oh, the storyline was just so, heartbreaking, and that now just those damn levels. I can't get the apple, and I can't jump over this cliff.
How on earth am I meant to jump over this flamingo and this rhino? Like, yeah, or ostrich. It was an ostrich, not a flamingo. What do you want, Alex?
I don't know. But going forward now, so now we're gonna go into venture into Twitch. We didn't really talk about League, but we can talk about that with Twitch, I guess. How did you find Twitch? How did you come about Twitch?
I have been playing a lot of League of Legends, and I was looking for ways to improve because I had a lot of fun, but I was always the dead weight on my team. Um, I could only really play support characters, and that was all I was good at was and also it was Lux support. I did Lux support back when Lux was a good support. Um, and I wanted to get better. So I found Twitch
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, this is cool. If I have a question, I could just type on in. And so I was a little late to the Twitch game compared to a lot of people who have been on Twitch for a long time. Well, yeah, for that makes sense as a sentence. I was a little later to Twitch than a lot of people, but I found it and I found a couple of League of Legends streamers, and it started there. And actually, that was when I found Rachel, oh baby 190, and that's how I got introduced to her stream. She used to play a lot of League of Legends, and I used to watch her and KP LOL
Hmm.
um a lot just to try and improve my League of Legends skills. And then I realized that there was so much more on Twitch.
Hmm. So I guess I didn't know League of Legends played such a part. Usually when I talk about League, it's like, oh, salt and toxicity. It's just the community. That's usually what I get. But no, let's talk about League before we get dive too deep into Twitch there. So League, you played support mostly. What was your favorite character on League of Legends? Was it Lux or was it somebody else?
It was Lux. I loved playing Lux. I also liked playing Nami and Ash. And that was it. I really had like three characters that I would cycle in, and if I couldn't play those three characters, I was useless.
Uh,
Absolutely useless.
Fair enough. I feel that way too. There's like a few people who I'm like really good with, and then you get bored of them. You're like, well, five people I can't really play, so just try my best there. Um,
Exactly.
as you ventured onto Twitch, did you learn more about the game? Did you change your role? Did you ever want to play like I don't know, top lane or the jungle or somewhere not in the bot lane?
Never. I did mid lane Lux a few times, but I never streamed um League of Legends ever. Um, because the community is to me very toxic. And when I moved back to New Zealand, which is when I really started getting into Twitch, um, the Oceania server is worse than the NA server. It's a weird extreme. A lot of NA, because it was just casual games. I never played ranked or anything like that.
Hmm.
And so because it was casual games, most people in NA, if you don't do too well, they just kind of write it off and don't say anything. You will get the odd like salty bugger,
Hmm.
but they you just kind of shrugged it off. Australia, New Zealand, the Oceania server was a weird mix of either like the friendliest like people or just the absolute like skid marks of the underpants of society. Like it was really just bad.
Oh
So
baby.
bad, like shocking, like worse than anything I'd ever experienced in NA. And after that, I was just like, okay.
We're
And I
done.
haven't played League since 2015.
That's usually what happens is that, League either you've played it so much and it's the same constant thing, kind of like an MMO in a way. It's like you play it and you grind up and you get everything and then you're like, okay, I'm here again. You know. So
Yeah.
so you never played ranked though. It was nothing like competitive wise. You never were like, eh.
No, I've never been very competitive with games because for the most part, the games that I was really good at don't tend to be com- competition games. I was amazing at Crash Team Racing, and I still am to this day, let me tell you. But it's not really competitive CTR.
Yeah. Oh, I get you. I understand. So moving into Twitch now. So you found these streamers. Now you're like, okay, this is interesting. What made the jump? Where were you like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna stream.
I decided to start going through a few like small streamers, and I'm talking like, you know, 20 views at most
Hmm.
kind of streams. And I was just browsing around looking at games that I enjoyed. Like I would go and be like, ah, you know what? I really enjoyed Armello. I'm gonna see if anyone's playing Armello. Oh, hey, this guy is playing Armello. Before I knew it, I was like, this is so cool. I'm like talking to someone live in Amsterdam and actively like he's interacting with me back. This is really amazing. And then one night I decided to look for Until Dawn streams because I had just played that game. I had loved that game, and I came across a dual stream called the Blackout Brothers, and they were so funny. And I started typing, and their community was just so lovely, warm, and welcoming. And it was like what I got when I went to um, Rachel's stream as well. Just I'm suddenly experiencing these like streamers that are so interactive and these communities which were so warm and welcoming and friendly and fun. And before I knew it, I was watching like Rachel and the Blackout Brothers like every day that they were live. And when they weren't live, I was like, oh man, I have nothing to watch. You know, you get married to like your favorite streams.
Hmm.
And eventually um they like branched me out to other streams. But it was the Blackout Brothers who I said like offhandedly, like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about doing this.
Hmm.
And they were just like, "Yeah, go for it. Let's do it." And their whole community, like, came together to help me come up with, like, ideas for my stream. And, like, help one of them actually helped me build my PC. One of their moderators
Wow.
helped me build my computer. It was just a really giving community, and without them, I don't know if I would've actually made that jump to streaming, but I did, and I haven't looked back.
That's good. I feel like this is my favorite question because I don't think you guys ever, when I ask this question, you guys never realize how your face just lights up. It's like what Twitch or stream. Exactly. It's like y- Twitch probably then meant something to you as a viewer, but now Twitch even means more to you as a streamer. It's like it holds a special place in your heart, and you could clearly see that, like with just a clear facial reaction of like, this is when it started. There you go. Like here I am now.
Exactly.
So that. Did you always have Madame Gandalf as your username, or is that something that the community came up with because you said they helped you out with their names and idea for stream?
Yeah, I would run past a lot of ideas with them, but I've always been Madame Gandalf, and literally across all of the internet, like, you could find me as Madame Gandalf. And I'm the only person, even that shitty fan fiction that we will not talk about is under Madame Gandalf. Um, like, things like that, it's all Madame Gandalf. You just made me think, PC games that I could go back and play over and over and over again. I'm sorry to go be jumping back.
No, you're
Dragon
fine.
Age Origins.
Oh, there you go.
Dragon Age Origins is my favorite game of all time.
There you go, guys. If you haven't checked it out, if people don't know what that is, can you quick, brief description of what that game?
It's a lot of people would compare it to Baldur's Gate, but it's Baldur's Gate done from a much closer, almost more behind the shoulder perspective. And it's a medieval fantasy story where you can start, well, like the title of Origins suggests, from multiple kinds of different origins, and they have a really incredible story where the Darkspawn are coming to take over all of Ferelden, and is up to you as a Grey Warden to figure out how to defeat these darkspawn. And depending on how you interact with people, depending on how you interact with NPCs, um, depending on how the world will interact with you, depending on whether you decided to be an elf, a dwarf, or a human, whether you're male or female, whether you're a mage, uh, all of that stuff has an effect in the world, and how easy or difficult it might be for you to try and solve or to get over the obstacles to help you keep the world of Ferelden safe, or whether you choose to not bother, whether you become a tyrant and decide to just become a king. It's I I loved it so much.
There you go. Oh well, that's exciting, and that's something I would think I would be interested in. I've never played it, so I feel like I'm like out of the loop with the games. I play like certain games, and people are like, "You've never played this game?" I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I,
I know a lot of people haven't played Dragon Age Origins, but I thoroughly recommend it just because of the characters mostly. The characters are really well written, just complete onion layers of characters. Like maybe this one character seems like a stuck-up bitch when you talk to her first, but the more and more you talk to her, and there's so many different dialogue options. There's like 7 or 8 like different options for you to choose from, like almost each time. And the more and more you talk to her, the more and more you find out the like reason of how she became that way, or is she always that way, or is it that mask that you put on to protect yourself? And oh yeah, I love it a lot because I went to film school, and one of the my most favorite things that I learnt there was the character diamond and creating a character, and being able to see that character diamond come into true effect in a video game blew my mind.
It's really interesting. My brother actually wants to go to film school, so it's like, well, not filming. He
Oh,
wants to be like a director, something to that extent. He wants to. So he just graduated high school and he's going to like this program. So it's like, it's he
that's
always
so sweet.
he always gives me shit for my YouTube. He's like, "Come on, you could do better than this." I'm like, "Ah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." No, but we all start somewhere.
I'm
But Dragon
busy.
Age, if you're listening, if you've seen this part now, you have to sponsor it. This is the only way. You have to like.
EA. I love Dragon Age.
uh, but continuing back onto Twitch, so you finally made this jump. You're on Twitch now. You're streaming, and how was like that experience? Like, what was the first things? Like your first couple days, you were just like, how did you feel?
I was excited more than anything. Growing up, I had originally wanted to be an actress, and in high school, this is so stupid now that I think back to it, but my high school teacher had her favorites, and while I was like in the top 3, I wasn't like the top 1 of like my class.
Hmm.
And it used to bug me because I knew that that girl didn't really want to continue a future in acting, whereas I did.
Hmm.
And it just really got me down. And I thought, fine, you know what? If I can't make it in front of the character, I'll go behind, in front of the camera, I'll go behind the camera.
Yeah.
So that's how I went after film school. But I've always loved performing, and I always have felt very comfortable talking in front of a large audience of people. And so I was excited when I first started, and my first ever stream, I was very lucky that I started off with at least about 10, 11 people.
Hmm. That's pretty
And
good
that,
for
that was
like
because
first streaming.
yeah, yeah, for a first time, it's like crazy, but it's because I'd spent so much time in other communities and hanging out and becoming part of their communities and not self-promoting. Like, don't do that, kid. Um, but just talking to people and getting to know them, and they become your friends, and it grew and grew from there that people would wanted to come by and support because they already knew me so well.
So you're telling me not to go to Twitch channels and spam your Twitch link? It was a joke. Oh, there's this sick guy. We'll talk about Twitch etiquette just here in a second here.